Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today I am very excited to be bringing you my in-depth analysis of LEGO Harry Potter, set number 75969, the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower. This set includes 971 pieces, 8 exclusive minifigures, and will retail for about €90 or $100 when it releases on June 1st / July 1st in Europe and the United States, respectively. And I'm just going to come out and say it. This set looks beautiful. I think it is by far one of, if not the best, minifigure-scale Hogwarts castle-based sets the LEGO Group has ever released, and definitely the best of the 4 large Hogwarts sets they've released in the revival theme. Honestly, this set looks so good that I'm thinking about when I get it, I might actually display this alongside the direct-to-consumer set instead of the minifigure scale set, because it just looks that fantastic. But anyway, we'll get into more of the details in a minute, but first just looking at the box, you can see that it displays the main set very prominently, showing off all 3 modules, those being the Astronomy Tower on the left, the Viaduct entrance in the center, and a small greenhouse on the right. You can see a few small scenes set up featuring the set's minifigures, but you'll notice that the only one that's actually interacting with the build itself in any way is Draco, up there on the balcony. You can see that in the background we have a very nice design featuring renderings of both the Hogwarts Great Hall and Hogwarts Clock Tower sets, which were the main flagship Hogwarts sets for the past 2 years of the theme. And I do think it's interesting that they decided to start using renderings of the past sets now, when, say, with the Clock Tower from last year, they didn't use renderings of the Great Hall or Whomping Willow set, so it is a new change, but I think it looks very good. Other than that, the box design is pretty much the same as what can be seen on all of the sets from 2019 and 2020 from the theme. And on the right, you have a cutout showing what the inside of the set will look like. Going to the more standard set picture, you can get a better look at the exterior of all 3 builds. Starting on the right with Greenhouse 3, it is perhaps inaccurate in color since it really should be more of a gray scheme, but I think that this color scheme makes it both fit in a lot better with the castle, with the tan elements, as well as giving it just more of a earthy feel with the dark orange. And I feel so the build looks really great with the different windows, specifically up on top. To let light in through the roof, they're using some of the Night Bus windows from last year in tan, so that's very nice. And also on top, you can see some Ninjago Golden Dragon decoration elements. Sure, okay. There's some foliage growing on the one fully built wall. And next to that, you can see a small lantern emplacement for the Slug Club Christmas Party, which is what the majority of this set's minifigure selection, and a small amount of the interior, is themed around. You can also see up towards the bottom left a chocolate fountain build, which also goes for that party setting. In the center, there is the Viaduct entrance, which I feel as though definitely doesn't compare at all to the version that came in the direct-to-consumer set, but it clearly wasn't made to. And I feel as though, while this definitely isn't as grandiose as that version, this looks really good with all the shaping. Specifically, you have the 4 towers, and I really like how with this set they're bringing in a lot more sand green than we've had the last couple of years, which again brings it more in line with the direct-to-consumer, which also used more sand green. Specifically, though, with this set, I would really like to point out the 6x6 dishes at the base of the turrets on the Astronomy Tower, because that is just beautiful looking. The Viaduct entrance, I mean. You have the round open circular window. And down below, you just have a single door, which, again, definitely not accurate, much smaller than it should be, but I think it looks very good for what it is. And you also have some more foliage growing around the base. Then, the astronomy tower itself is a 5-story building. It is the tallest tower we've had yet for the minifigure scale Hogwarts, which is accurate. And it looks very good. Now, I feel as though the design of the astronomy tower in itself is definitely perhaps a little plain. Like, the shaping is not as interesting as that of, say, the clock tower from last year. But I feel as though, for what this is, it is a very well-executed design, looks quite elegant. I'm a big fan of it. At the bottom, you have an arched entryway, and then above that, you get several of the rectangular windows introduced with the Hogwarts Great Hall in 2018. Up on the 4th level, you have a very large open circular window, as well as a much smaller tower coming out of the front. And then, of course, on the right, you have a large tower, complete with the balcony that is definitely not large enough in this version for a certain headmaster to die and fall out of. Spoilers! Anyway, and then up top, you also have a very large tower top, using the Millennium Falcon cockpit piece in dark gray, which has become pretty customary for this new theme. And that's pretty much it for the exterior. You can see that at the top of the side tower, there is some nice dark tan and dark orange detailing, just to create a bit more visual interest. And I feel as though the stickers they've placed on this set for the brickwork works much better than they do on the past few sets. Just a lot more subtle, but still having them enough that you get the design. Also, the actual medium nougat bricks have been left off, mostly, aside from some small areas towards the bottom, which I think also helps with the aesthetic look a lot. Going around to the inside, there are a good amount of rooms to look at, with there being 1 in each of the smaller sections, as well as a total of 6 in the astronomy tower. And starting off, there is the greenhouse, and it has a pretty simple interior where you just have 4 mandrakes sitting on a table, which is what identifies this as specifically Greenhouse 3 from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Even though, if I remember correctly, the greenhouse that they go to in the Half-Blood Prince, where Slughorn wanted to snip some leaves to sell them on the black market, would have been full of, I want to say, venomous tentacula? I could be wrong about that, though, but I'm relatively positive it wasn't mandrakes. Still, though, it is nice LEGO included them, because while it's not shown in any of the official pictures, all 4 of these mandrakes do have a printed screaming face, and those are just printed on the standard 1x1 cylinder piece. And while that is the same build the mandrakes will have in the upcoming collectible minifigure series 2, the print is different, where that one will not be screaming. So it is unique to this set, which is really nice, and again, I'm very surprised that we're even getting prints for the mandrakes in this set. But on the same token, it's kind of funny when you consider that now we have 3 distinct designs for the mandrake in the new line. Yet there are still some fairly important characters, some of which are included in this set, that are not getting the new prints they need, especially in the facial area. But anyway, so yeah, good interior here, even if it is a bit curious with how LEGO distributes their print budget. Also, you get 4 of the planting pot piece in brown, which hasn't appeared in that color since 2012. Neat. And then on the left and right sides of the greenhouse, you can see the Technic bricks that will allow this to connect up horizontally with the other sections of the castle. Moving along to the Viaduct entrance, as well as the base of the Astronomy Tower. Starting with the entrance on the left, you can see that inside of here, they have put a potions classroom. This is like, what, number 3 for the new line? I will say, though, this one is very well done. I think I might overall prefer the one they included in the Whomping Willow set, just because it was much more expansive, but this is probably the most accurate potions classroom we've had in any set to date. You have a couple of desks with stools, each with a fair few different potions on them. And then on the right, you can see that there is a stickered book, which is a copy of Advanced Potion Making, which, much like the Mandrakes, is something that we will be getting in CMF Series 2, albeit that one will be printed, and with a much more accurate sand blue and lavender color scheme, whereas this one's just on the standard brown book. You can also see up top there is a chandelier with some candles in various states of usedness. Yeah, good space. Here you can also get a bit of a better look at the chocolate fountain, featuring all sorts of treats, including some nice jam cookies, some stroopwafels, and some of what I'm sure are supposed to be cupcakes. But thanks to Minifigure Series 19, I will forever think of that piece as dog poop. Wonderful. Anyway, and at the base of the Astronomy Tower, you get a little entrance hall, you get a broomstick. It's fine. I mean, unlike the clock tower, where I just hate the bottom floor of that, this actually works, because the proportions of the room actually make it look like a hall, like a corridor. Shouldn't have been difficult, but took them more than one try, which is a bit embarrassing. But they got it. And then you also just have a small bit of space to the left of that door frame, where you could attach on the lantern, if you so desired. You can also see that the Astronomy Tower is much better for attachment points than most of the other sets, because while it seems as though both the greenhouse and the Viaduct entrance only have a single point of attachment, they have one on each side, but I mean that the greenhouse you can only attach it horizontally, and the Viaduct entrance you can only attach things vertically, and that isn't really the right orientation, but you know what I mean, front to back. With the Astronomy Tower, for the very first time in the new line, you actually have both options, where you can see that there is a pair of the 1x1 Technic bricks on the right, facing in different directions, and on the left you have a 1x1 and a 1x2, again, giving you both directions for attachment, and that is just very good, and I am, like, that's not very complex, but it's very smart. Anyway, moving onwards and upwards, quite literally, we have on the second floor of the tower, Professor Slughorn's office, and it's a very cramped space, but I think it's quite nice. You have his table, complete with a printed letter and a light fixture, and then in the background you can see some stickered bookshelves, complete with a very specific poisoned bottle of mead. Also behind him, you can see a sticker for what I can't really make out since it is mostly covered up, but I imagine that is going to be his photo collection of the members of the past Slug Clubs. Yeah, very nice area. I should point out about now the white door frames, because I feel as though this area is where they're the most noticeable, and if you don't like them, the most annoying. Essentially, the 6x6 door frames are a relatively new piece that prior to this has only appeared in Disney princess sets in white. And LEGO didn't have the budget to recolor them, so here they are in white again, and honestly, I don't think it's that bad. Like, yeah, it does break up the color scheme a little, but it's on the inside, and I think it looks fine. Honestly, I think it adds a nice amount of visual interest to the interior to draw a bit more attention to it. And they also kept the white with the standard four wide door frames that are at some places in the set, just to keep consistency. That's a bit more debatable, but I feel as though, again, if you're going to have the wider pieces in white, just have them all in white. Anyway, that's my talk about that. I'm fine with that decision, but if you're not, I'm sure that at some point they'll release the piece in light tan. Moving up to the third floor, we have the Ravenclaw dormitory, which is definitely a step up from the Gryffindor dormitory we got in the Whomping Willow set. We do have a couple of beds that are a very similar design, if not the exact same. But in the background, you have a stickered Ravenclaw banner, complete with the wrong colors, because Ravenclaw's secondary color is supposed to be bronze, but you know, oh well. Next to that, you have a little desk with a quill and a letter, and on the far left, you can see a bookcase containing a single book that, again, don't have a good picture of this, but that will have a sticker on the cover with a crystal ball representing Unfogging the Future, the book used in Transfiguration class, which is a bit of an odd choice considering that this is a Half-Blood Prince set, but hey, filling out my Lego Harry Potter textbook collection, I'm certainly not complaining. Moving up to the top two floors, these are both based around astronomy. The fourth floor is actually split into two areas, where you have the balcony, which, again, definitely not as large as it is in Universe, but none of these sets are, and you have enough space to fit, I think, 2 figures in there comfortably, so all's well there. For the larger area, though, you have the large astronomy ornament type thing. I have no idea what that's called. Please don't inform me in the comments, since, I mean, I'm just not interested, I'll be honest. But it's very nice looking, using different gold hoop pieces. It's quite accurate. Yeah. It's a very good design, and I'll leave it at that. And then up at the very top, 5th floor, just in the taller of the two towers, you can see you have the astronomy classroom, complete with a stroll with a couple of constellations, as well as a very nice telescope using some vibrant, transparent colors for the lenses. Yeah, I know telescopes, trust me. Anyway, so that's pretty much all there is to say about the build itself. It is a fantastic design. I am very impressed, and I am very excited to get this set when it comes out, for me, on July 1st. Yeah. But now, let's move on to the minifigures. Starting here with the first 4. From left to right, we have Professor Horace Slughorn, Slytherin, Draco Malfoy, Gryffindor, Hermione Granger, and Gryffindor, Harry Potter. And starting off with Slughorn on the left, this guy is quite similar to his appearance in the Bricktober pack from 2018, and he does have that same face print. However, the hairpiece now is lacking the light gray highlights. It is a solid dark gray piece. It's up to you whether you prefer or dislike this change. Personally, I think it probably looks a bit worse, but I'm just glad to have the variation, honestly. And then you have his torso print, which is also different, but very slight different. It is very similar to the Bricktober set. Almost to the point where I wish that maybe they changed the primary color to just a reddish brown to make it more different. I don't know. Anyway, from here we can get a better look at the textbook, as well as if we look at the inside, we can see that it seems as though the inner page is stickered as well. Next to Slughorn, we have Draco Malfoy, who finally gives us some Slytherin robes. Very glad to get those. They are in the same style as the robes that we got in the first collectible minifigure series for Gryffindor, but just now in Slytherin colors. And you can see that they continue through to the existing leg print that we've had for years now. It first appeared with General Hux for The Force Awakens in 2015. This year, with this wave, they are updating it slightly to remove a tunic print that was in between the two coat sides. Overall, I think it's improved with that section missing. I like the use of the print here, even if it is a bit odd how if you look toward the bottom of Draco's right leg, our left from where we're looking, you have a bit of the corner folded over and it's just black when the inside of the robe is green. So that's a bit of an inconsistency, but I'm fine with it. His hairpiece is, I think, the most accurate one for this movie, and his face print is not new. It is the face of one Kaz Ziono, I think, from Star Wars Resistance, a Disney animated series that I have never watched. Yeah, but they also used it on Bruce Wayne, and a really inaccurate figure of Happy Hogan from Spider-Man, so there's that. And I feel as though this face print for Draco is... it's fine. I mean, I feel as though the eyebrows are too thick and also too dark. He has brown eyebrows, but I feel as though the facial expressions are fine. Specifically, the other one, more so. I feel as though this more aggressive expression is not as good, but I feel as though his more just contemptuous main face works well. Next up, we have Hermione, and... well, it's a good figure, just one I really don't care about, because here we get into what I think is something that is a bit controversial about this set's minifigure selection, and I get it. They based half of the figures in the set on the Slug Club Christmas Party from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and... I mean, on one hand, it is definitely nice to get these specialized variants of the characters. On the other hand... it's been 2 years since we've had a Hogwarts Castle set that gave us a good amount of student figures in robes, or just uniforms in general, because we didn't get robes the first year. Like, the Great Hall gave us 5, the Whomping Willow gave us 2, then the Clock Tower gave us none, and in this set, the only figure in normal uniform is Draco. And I mean, yeah, Hermione, this is a very nice figure, the torso print is great, the legs... are fantastic. I mean, they're double molded, printed on top and bottom, and I just hope that they're in better quality than what we had for Queenie in the 2018 wave, in the minifigure series. I hope so, since it looks like the pink and the flesh tone are pretty much contained just to those halves of the legs. But still, it's a very nice figure, but like, were people really asking for this? I mean, it's nice, but I would have much rather all that budget for the new double-molded leg color and the new prints for the legs and torso, including side printing on the legs for silver shoes. I mean, I would have much preferred if that budget had gone into other parts of the set, such as maybe giving Draco a new face print, or doing a good job on a figure we'll get to on the next picture. But anyway, it's a good figure, just one I don't have an exceptional amount of interest in. Then on the right we have Harry, who... yeah, he has the same leg print as Draco, same hairpiece and face print he has in all the sets this year for Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, and his torso is just a worse version of the one they released as a promo figure with a book in 2012. If you don't have that 2012 figure, this is a pretty good design, and I think it's very accurate. However, if you have the 2012 version, I feel as though the hairpiece is probably more accurate on this one, but I personally like the face less than the original 2012 figure. The leg print, also, like, I feel as though the 2012 figure just looks more clean. Like, the lines are much crisper and less... there aren't any wrinkles, and I think that works much better for a very classy dress-robed figure. And the torso is just more detailed on the old one, with more detail in the tie specifically. So yeah, not a bad figure, just one that I personally have no interest in. And then we move on to the other 4 figures, and, we have Ronald Weasley, Lavender Brown, Neville Longbottom, and Luna Lovegood. Starting with Ron on the left, he's fantastic. In fact, I would hazard to say he's probably one of the best figures in the set, despite him being one of the simplest. His hairpiece is the same one he has in the Burrow, which is also the same hairpiece he got all the way back in 2010 when they first designed his figure for the Half-Blood Prince back then. And I am so glad. It's just so nostalgic to see that hairpiece back on Ron. The face print, I think, is great and works much better with this hairpiece than it did with the 2 hairpieces he was given last year. Which, funnily enough, I can say the same for Harry, where I feel as though the short hair he has this year works better with his face from last year than either hairstyle he had last year. So I guess they were probably planning ahead, otherwise that's just a really lucky coincidence. Anyway, Ron's shirt is pretty perfect. It's just the right amount of ugly, it's accurately teal, the pattern works great. I mean, ideally he would have double molded arms, but I don't care. The print's great. There's so many figures that don't get double molded arms for when they're really necessary, specifically characters from Star Wars, that when I see Ron just with normal arms, it's fine. And I guess he's holding a cauldron full of purple bubbles. Okay. Then next up we have Lavender Brown, and yeah, when I was talking about Hermione's budget should have been funneled over to someone else, it's her, because I'll start with the torso. Her torso is nice. I feel as though the printing is very accurate. I like how she has the necklace. I like the shaping around the collar. It's a very well done torso. Everything else about this figure, though, is kind of a dumpster fire. Okay, she has no design on her legs. They're just purple. She needed a skirt. I don't care if the skirt was double molded or a fabric piece, one of the plastic pieces like the ones they do for Minnie Mouse or more recently in the Trolls line. Heck, it could have just been printing on the front of the legs. She needed something. It just looks so bland and just inaccurate like this. And then, her face. Now, as we all know, Lavender Brown in the Harry Potter films is a very exaggerated, very emotional character. And I don't know if emotional is the right word. She's one of the most, I'm just going to exaggerated again because it just works, characters in the whole franchise. She is almost cartoonish in how over-the-top she is. So, what did LEGO do? They chose the least expressive female face they have in their entire catalog, introducing Rey from Star Wars. Because if anyone says over-the-top giddy, it's Rey. I mean, seriously, I feel as though they should have just used the face they gave Queenie in the Fantastic Beasts suitcase set from 2018. That face isn't perfect, but it would have worked so much better than this. Or, even better idea, just give her a new face print. Dude, again, you gave the Mandrakes a special design. Their third design. And you're not even going to show it on the box. But you're going to leave out Lavender Brown, who, is not my favorite character. But still, she is very prominent in the movie this set is based on. And it is just weird to have her look this bad. Then she has a friend's hairpiece that is very straight and nowhere near as, cutesy and puffy as her hair should be in universe. But it's fine, because they used it to attach the bow at the back, and honestly, that hair's the least of this figure's issues. I mean, I don't know, maybe they could have done something if they still have the mold for the Alice figure from the Alice in Wonderland, part of the Disney CMF Series 1 from 2016. I think that hairpiece with the accurate color for Lavender would have worked pretty much perfectly, but this is fine. But that face print is an absolute travesty. The legs are just wrong. This is a poor figure. Then we have our first Neville in any of the sets. We got him in CMF Series 1, we're getting him in CMF Series 2, and here we have him right here. His hairpiece is this style in dark brown, which previously was not common. It appeared on the Larry the Barista figure from the original LEGO movie, and I believe that was its only appearance prior to this year, where we're getting it here and in the CMF. So that's a nice piece. Neville's face, I don't know. He does have two faces, the other one being more of a smile, but they made him look too dumb. And because, by this point, Neville has pretty much fully evolved into handsome Neville from the Deathly Hallows. So it feels weird for them to still portray him as kind of derpy, dumb Neville. Because, like, dude, are they just gonna... I hope they don't retread this face next year for Deathly Hallows, because it will be an absolute travesty if Hot Neville looks like this. Also, it's just, like, not a good likeness, I feel. Like, it just... They tried to make him look more like young Neville by incorporating some of those features, but it just doesn't work. Because he aged up far more than anyone else in the franchise. And that's not really the wording I'm going for, but that's just what that's what I'm saying. He looks completely different in the last couple movies than he did at the start. So it just feels weird for them to use a face that you could probably use in The Prisoner of Azkaban for Neville, and it would be more accurate than this. Anyway, he does get a torso print. It's nice and accurate to the scene. He is a waiter and a replacement house elf, as accurate to this scene in the film. Last figure is Luna. She's in her dress, and it's pretty good overall. The face print is a new one for this year, where she has one face smiling and the other very surprised, and it's a very cute print. She has her hairpiece from CMF Series 1, and then her torso and legs are in lavender, which is fine. I personally had always thought that the robes were more of just a standard silver color. If there was any tint, it was pink, but lavender's an interesting choice to go with. I think the printing on the torso is very good, but when we move down to the legs, I feel as though you needed some sort of 3D skirt element. I feel as though the Minnie Mouse one would have been too extravagant, but just like the Trolls World Tour mini skirt piece, just having that in there would have worked really well, I feel. And then at the bottom, you have the cutoff of the dress to go to her leggings, and that is just such an abrupt cutoff. Like, I get that they didn't want to do any overprinting, because either way it would have looked pretty funky, but there had to have been a better way to do this, because this just looks really poor to just have it cut off straight like that. So if you couldn't tell, I'm not the biggest fan of this set's minifigure selection. Like, I think Slughorn is alright. I think Neville I think is acceptable. I think Luna is pretty great, aside from the legs. And I think Ron is actually legitimately pretty fantastic. Oh, and I like Draco's torso, but not much else. But Harry is lame, Hermione is just unnecessary, and Lavender is probably the worst figure in the line thus far, which is really unfortunate. But those minifigures cannot stop this from being just a phenomenal set. Very much like the Burrow from this wave as well, which is the other set I have currently done an analysis of. However, I do plan to get videos out for the rest of them sooner rather than later. Anyway, but yeah, so the figures are not the best, but they work for what the set is, and the build is just great. Like, the build itself, I think, is probably worth more than $100. Like, the part count, 971. First off, it's the largest castle set we've had thus far in the new theme, and I believe the second largest at minifigure scale after the 2010 Hogwarts set, which came in at a towering 1,290. But anyway, the build is fantastic. You get so many good rooms inside, so much to do. It just looks beautiful from the front. Very vibrant. But yeah, overall, this is a set I am very excited for. I will get it as soon as it releases in the US on July 1st. And yeah. Oh, also, forgot to mention until now, the set does also come with the new Flying Hedwig Owl piece, which is a very good piece to get. It comes in a good amount of the new sets, a phrase which here means 5. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about this set, and that's pretty much all for this video. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one, which I hope will be coming very soon. But for now, this is Retro Brick Reviews, signing off.